Welcome, Atomic Construction fam. I'm Kevin Hohe, your host. Our guest today is Cesar Barbosa, a solar professional. Love his story. Very proud patriot. I'm excited to talk to him, and I hope you enjoy the show. Cesar Barbosa, dude, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on, man.
Pleasure to be on, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, so I do this thing. Anytime I see a voice that I want to hear from, I'm like, hey, come and play in the sandbox. You obviously checked it out. We didn't scare you away. So I just want to get to know you, man. So tell me your construction journey from day one. I know we were talking on the phone. You got an interesting immigration situation, all the things. So take me from birthday to today in the most detail you want to go into.
Yeah, without boring the listeners.
Yeah.
So let's see, man. Mexican-American immigrant, came to the country when I was a little boy. My parents, they worked hard. They did the things right. Through their hard work, they became citizens and we became naturalized. I've had the privilege to go back and forth to Mexico since I was a little kid. I've traveled around the world. And by far, I've come to the conclusion that the United States is the greatest country to live in by far. I know I try to live in Mexico in paradise, and I think we take for granted a lot of things. Fast forward, growing up in the Bay Area, grew up with, to be honest, with the gangs, man. This was, growing up in the 90s, listening to rap, not having a lot of male mentors. Dad was present, but not really, working, all day long, basically, still thinking that he's living back in the motherland. And I'm living dual lives, right? By day, I'm trying to survive the streets. And by night, I'm just a Mexican boy going to church and playing soccer. Fast forward to that, man, what happens in my life is after getting caught up with the law one too many times, I'm looking around and I remember my dad telling me either be a doctor or be an electrician. And I don't know how he would put those things together, but in his mind, being a doctor or an electrician were signs of success. And so I quickly realized that doctor was definitely not going to be part of my journey. And so I said, well, shoot, I guess electrician is the next big route. 2008, I'm sitting in the middle of the afternoon watching Jerry Springer. I'm pretty sure you're still in that era, right?
Yep, I'm in. I know Jerry.
So it's middle of the afternoon. I'm jobless. The company I was working for, Landscape at the time, had gone out of business. Commercial comes on and says, if you're sitting on your butt, not doing anything with your life, give us a call, come change your life, get a career, be an electrician. And I'm looking around the room and I'm saying, well, if that ain't divine grace, I don't know what is. I pick up the phone. The next week I'm signed up. And for the first time in my life, something clicked. I fell in love with something for the first time. Electrical theory, electrical trades on, the unmatched potential of what I could be when these speakers would come in and talk to us. I knew that I had hit on something. Out of a class of 200, I graduated with honors as number 2 in the whole class, where prior to that, I'd been getting C's and D's in almost every category.
Cesar, 1 second, because I'm ADD. Well, how old are you at this point? So you've been doing the gang stuff. You came as a young boy. So how long? What age are we when the commercial spoke to you divinely?
Must have been 18 to 19 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I scraped my way through high school. I even tried to do community college, went in there and I was like, man, what a waste of time. And right away got into electrical trade school.
Got it.
Yes. So I'm 18, 19, get into trade school, everything clicks. I get hired by my first solar company. My background is, in essence, today is commercial solar. We operate nationally. Most of our work is in California. And I say this humbly but proudly, we work for the Fortune 100s of the world developing solar assets with a particular niche, which we can get into a little later. But that's it, man. That's the story, man. I'm an electrician by trade, run an organization here in California. We got a long way to go, but enjoying the ride.
That's awesome, man. So you go to trade school, 18, 19, and then did you come on as, so did you come on as like an apprentice? Like you trade?
Absolutely.
You apprenticed your way to apprentice, journeyman. Did you go all the way to foreman? And then you end up, you're running a company. Is it your company or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
100% owner.
So and that's awesome. You got to talk to the little Caesars of the world, 15-year-old. I don't think people are preaching college like they did, but whatever. The same, talk to young you. He's in class and don't, so you get into the trades and walk me through the elevator because it's an awesome elevator. I already know it.
Yeah, you got it, man. It's a very interpersonal mission that I feel that God's given me to basically go back to the trades. As a matter of fact, Kevin, we go to trade schools and we talk to them. I talk to them and we present to them. And so this is my message to that young Caesar. In particular, let's hope that by then they've already put their money where their mouth is. Because there's an old saying, Kevin, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it, right? That goes all the way as you're starting your journey, all the way to foreman, superintendent, even a business owner. This is continuous improvement and continuous seeking knowledge, putting your money where your mouth is. This is my message to someone who is either entertaining going into trade school or is in trade school. I'm imagining him, little Caesar, in that trade school. I'm coming in and I'm talking to him like this, and there's maybe like a class of about 20. This is my actual pitch to them. I say, look, guys, you've already taken the first step to come in here and invest a little bit in your life. Obviously, you see for whatever reason that college wasn't the path that you wanted to elect. God's then or society or just circumstances have brought you in here. You're already here. Congratulations. You made the first initial step to be here. With that being said, let me not sugarcoat the trades, okay? Especially electrician. I think a lot of you get this understanding that you're going to be working behind a sub panel in an air conditioned unit, making $100 an hour day one. And that's not the reality. This is hard work, backbreaking work, requires a lot of discipline, a lot of sacrifice. It's a trade that requires a lot of study, both in trade, hands-on, and in theory. And so if you think that you're going to come into electrician and not open up a book, you picked the wrong trade. With that being said, as I look across the room, usually what I see is that one or two of you are going to graduate this trade school and not continue to work in this career. You're going to go back to Starbucks. You're going to go back to being a packager at Amazon, whatever. I hate to say it, but that's the reality. Another big portion of you, maybe 80% of you, will go on and make a good career out of this. You're going to be a solid installer, a good electrician, and you'll be off to the races. A small percentage of you are going to actually climb the leadership rank. You're actually going to go after the superintendent, construction manager, project manager, maybe someday even director role. And then there's maybe one, very rarely two, but maybe one of you who is stupid enough and crazy enough to actually go into business for yourself. And although I highly don't recommend it, there's nothing I can do to prevent you from doing that. And I'm here to talk to you today. When I got into the trades, my vision in 10 years was to be the crew lead driving the van, right, to go off to the job site. That's how limited my capacity of thinking as a first generation Mexican coming to the country thinking. I wanted to be a superintendent. Did I know that in 10 years I'd be running a multi-million-dollar commercial company? Hell no. That is the no ceiling of what the trade provides, especially in today in the United States, where infrastructure is failing. A lot of the boomers are retiring, and we need more trade professionals to get in all industries, not just in electrical. And that's my pitch, Kevin. That's how I pitch it. And usually, if I'm lucky, I'll get one or two of those will come up to me and they'll say, "Hey, man, you spoke to me. Where do I start?" And then we go from there.
That's awesome, man. Super inspiring. If we can just go a little bit tactical, and how big was that class? I love the percentages, but one out of how many do you think are stupid enough and smart enough and crazy enough to enjoy the ride of, yeah.
Yeah, look, percentage, right? Sometimes I give a talk to about 100, 150 students. And it's more of like a open, like we're in the gymnasium or whatever. And sometimes I go into the classrooms, but in general, it's rarely even one. I guess what I'm saying. It's an uncommon factor is what I would say.
And so then as a guy that, I guess, like, my advice, and I'll say mine and then you can give yours, but just like I think a lot of people, obviously there's a limitation of like, maybe one day I'll be a crew lead. I think a lot of people don't even think they could be a crew lead, right? Like there's an imagination limitation that's like, I was fill in the blank with the weak-minded thought, and it's a limiting thought, right? I don't want to say weak-minded, but it's like, I don't see that for myself. But I think your message sounds to me similar to my message, is like anything's possible for he who believes, right? Like if you can be the CEO of that company, you could be anything you want to be, but like you've got to aspire to be it. So like for those that don't think much of themselves, what would you say? How do you channel the ability to elevate themselves, right? Like they just see themselves as a helper, or they see themselves as a hand. And it's not for everybody, but I think so. And my recommendation to everybody is just take your job really seriously. Like if you're digging holes, you dig the best holes. You dig the fastest holes, you dig the deepest holes. Nobody redoes your holes, right? Or if you're banging on whatever that is, and it should be uplifting. But I'm just curious how you would how would you inspire somebody that maybe isn't inspired or doesn't believe in themselves the way that we could believe in them?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with what you said. Whatever job it is that you're doing, do it to the best of your capability. I mean, it's biblical, right? There is no demeaning work. Everybody is required. Kevin, I don't know that it's so much an uplifting tactical advice. I think what it is someone like us reaching out and telling someone and sharing our story, right? I think that's what makes the biggest impact. I mean, like I just said, man, no college degree, D's and C's and F's throughout my all up through high school. My parents barely spoke a lick of English. I didn't have any rich friends. I have the typical story, right? And so I think the real message is like, look, dude, I can try to sit here and convince you all day long, or you can just take my story as an example.
Yeah.
I'm 37 years old today. I did it. You have no reason to do it. Here's the other thing I would say, though, brother, and I think this is important. There's also a misconception that this is a easy path, right? I always explain it like this. So there's always someone who has these crazy aspirations and these dreams of success, right? I want the Ferraris, I want the mansions, I want all this. But their worth ethic and their discipline and their commitment is down here, right? That to me is insanity, and we come across it often, right? And so my message to folks is like, look, dude, one or the other has to shift. Either your vision for success in life and everything you want out of it has to drop to what you're actually willing to commit, or your discipline and your commitment needs to elevate. But you cannot have both. And that's why I like to live. I like to find the folks who have the discipline and the grit, and the wanting to do it. They just don't have a ladder. They don't have a mentor. They don't have guidance. And that's where I come in and I reach out and say, hey, I can teach you the path. Here's my playbook, but I'm sure as hell not going to do the work for you. And if you waste my time, I'm moving on.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, Kyle and I, our last episode, we were talking about that. Is I don't know. There's an opportunity. I don't know what that is to like get to those people, because I don't know. I don't even know if our trades boys are watching content or listening to podcasts like this or whatever. But yeah, so it sounds like you're already doing that work. Let's talk. Just because we were brief here, let's talk about what you do at NuLife, what that company looks like. What do you want to tell the listener? And what do you guys do at NuLife?
Yeah, thank you. We're an end of life specialist. So we're basically going around the country decommissioning, or in other words, removing legacy aging solar systems and making them new. Hence the name NuLife Power. We bring new life to aging renewable energy infrastructure. In early 2000s, 2005, the country saw a massive scale in renewables, right? But we're 20 years past. And so what's going to happen with all those aging solar systems that we have on your house, on your grandma's house, out in the parking lots of the schools, and on all these retail stores? NuLife comes in, we assess the system, we inspect it, and we recommend either we remove it altogether because it's become a liability, or we find ways to improve that system. And sometimes it's a major repower or rehaul. So we're not focused on new installations. We're focused on the installations that the industry has already installed, and now we have to go back and maintain them and upgrade them.
That's awesome. We're in the solar space, all on the new construction. I didn't even know there was like retrofit. Are you one of many, or one of a few, or one of one? Is there? I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of people, but like, what does your market look like?
Yeah, they say that if you have no competition, it's a stupid business model. I got a ton of competition. I think what we've done best is that we've marketed the best. We're a subject matter expert. We've co-authored publications with NREL, which is the Department of Energy. We're working on another one today. And like I said, I've been in the industry 17 years, Kevin. I'm not multi-generational like you, but I like to say, as an electrician that has all 10 fingers and all 10 toes, we know what we're doing. We understand the complexities of working with, the Targets, the Walmarts, the Amazons of the world, all the way down to our neighbor who installed the system where the installer went out of business, and now he's left holding the bag. We offer a full solution for the smallest systems all the way to the biggest systems in the country.
That's awesome, man. Do you mind sharing how many you got working for you, or you can keep it all confidential? It's totally up to you, but I'll ask the question.
Yeah, no, we'll share everything, man. We're a growing business. We're 30 strong on a good day if nobody calls in sick. We're not for everybody. Our motto is the flex motto. If we have a job in Illinois, I'll send 2 of my OSHA 30 superintendents that have done several dozen large commercial projects. We leverage local labor, local contractors. That's the second vision of what NuLife is doing. We're licensing our model because we can't be in every city, we can't be in every state. It's not afraid about it. I've discerned it. I'm not trying to have 1,000 employees, Kevin. I learned not too long ago actually that revenues for the ego, profits for the family. I'm focused on making a real contribution and focusing on God, my wife, my kids, my community, and then doing whatever we can to make that happen.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that quote. I'm putting that in my quote book. Revenues for the ego, profit for the family. That's fantastic. Union, non-union, both?
No, man, non-union. I mean, look, we do prevailing wage. Yeah, I mean, we work with DIR and all that, but we're a non-union shop.
And then I know there's ground mount. We do a lot of ground mount, right? You don't need a fence if it's going on top of a building. I gather from your client list that most of your stuff is on buildings. Is it more urban?
We do. I mean, we do a little bit of everything. Matter of fact, I'm going to be giving you a call because we got a ground mount now that the fence needs to go away, and then we need to put in a new fence. But it's a combination.
I got a guy.
I know that. I know there's this company out there that seems to be in business for a long time.
Man, I want to talk. I'm a big Jesus guy myself. It'd be so fun to talk about that. But 30 minutes left. I want to stay on topic because this is the construction pod. I've got a different one for all things faith and philosophy. But
good to know.
So walk me through, if you can, in more detail. And also, by the way, like massive kudos. 30 people, like that's a business. That's not just, like I talked to a lot of solopreneurs. That's super cool. So kudos for what it's worth coming from me. That's awesome. Take me from so you're an apprentice. So top of the class. I really want to know who got number one. But you go from top of the class, apprentice, journeyman. Like, how fast are you trajecting? And you make it to super. And at what point is that stupid, painful, and epic idea that I'm going to go in business for myself? Was it kind of always there? And when did you from the moment you decided you might want to do that to you're and we're going to keep saying it's stupid. I'm stupid enough to just jump in the pond, right? Because take us through that, because I think that's super cool.
Yeah, let me reiterate. I know we're saying that jokingly, but I think you would agree, man. Entrepreneurship, especially in the trades, it's war, right? I mean, it's a daily grind. It's a emotional toil as it is a physical toil. You see me here, smiling and all that, but don't get it twisted, man. I say this openly. There's been times in the onset of my business journey where I would drive myself to the hospital thinking I'm having a heart attack. I would drive myself to the parking lot only to realize no, that ain't a heart attack, dude. That's a panic attack. Relax, And then I would drive myself home multiple times, bro, multiple times. And so that's what I say by stupid, right? Because look, I'll be honest, brother. Would I do anything else in the world? Absolutely not. I think God has elected me to be in this position of responsibility. But God, honest truth, if I knew how hard it was going to be back then, because mind you, when I started this thing, I was single. I was okay sleeping on the couch. Now I take my hat off to those who go into the entrepreneurship route, especially in construction, who have families, who have responsibilities. It's not easy, right? And so I say that despairingly, right? That when you're stupid, I mean, well, get prepared. It's not an easy journey, but it's super fulfilling. And when you see around, you start seeing your team members buying their first homes, buying their yachts, or not yachts, their boats. Not yet. We're working on the yacht.
Coming soon.
Building their family, having more kids. It's motivating, right? But to answer your story, apprenticeship, dude, look, man, there's no easy route, man. 17 years. It even sounds crazy when that comes out of my mouth. 17 years. So it's just like any other trade, I imagine, right? 4 years of apprenticeship, 4 years of journeyman, and then you can apply to become a contractor, and then that's where the real fun starts. I think my message when you're considering that timetable, what I would say is that, at least for me, I didn't know that I wanted to be in business, man. I just wanted a job, And so when I got into the field, I just realized that I was really good at it. I mean, I was already really athletic. The one thing, the greatest gift that my parents taught me was work ethic. Like my dad, I remember, dude, like this dude, old school Mexican, he would go to work with a broken leg if it came to that. Like he would never miss work, man. My mom as well. Dude, my dad, I didn't realize this until years later. My dad was a maintenance manager for a bougie tennis club, 32, 35 years or something like that. He worked for this company. when he living in the East Bay, mind you, okay, 45 minutes from one of the most expensive places in the world to live, San Francisco and Silicon Valley. When he retired, I realized that he had been making around at the highest around $20 an hour, brother, and he grew three kids and a wife with a $20 an hour salary. And I mean, that floored me when I found out. And then my mom, same thing, man. Just worked her butt off, worked for the school district, both blue collar in a way. Just real strong work ethic. And so when I got into the field, and I'd been doing landscaping, for several years before that, working with another bunch of hardworking dudes. Nobody could outpace me, man. It was like I didn't totally have the smarts. I sure as hell couldn't communicate well. But there was one thing that folks couldn't do, and they couldn't outcompete me with the work ethic. I was willing to outwork everybody. Then I realized that as I started maturing, I continued going through education because I realized, man, if trade school helped me elevate this much fast, because I realized that a lot of the folks that had been in the field for 4 years at that time hadn't really yet conceptualized the theory behind what we were doing. They were very good mechanically, but they didn't understand the theory behind it. And in electrical, as in all trades, really, you need to understand some of that basic foundation of theory, right? How does voltage work? How does the Ohm's law? Even bending pipe was an art that required geometry. And so I realized that a lot of these dudes that had been doing it for a long time, they didn't have quite near the knowledge that I had. And when I started able to show them what I had, my career started elevating quicker. And then I realized, okay, I'm not gonna be able to outwork everybody forever, right? And I don't want to be on the roofs on my knees or crawling down the crawl spaces forever. So what's the thing that can kind of keep short stacking those early wins? And it was education, brother. And so what I committed to myself, and even to this day, my wife and I, we read probably 2 to 3 books a month each. That's no joke. And that doesn't even include the endless hours of YouTube video and all that. I mean, we're just solid, like consuming knowledge all day long. But that started back then. I would go home after a 10, 12-hour shift. All of the homies at that time at the work site, hey, we're gonna go to the bar, we're gonna go smoke pot at Billy's house, all this, and I would say, sorry guys, I gotta go. And I didn't want to tell them. I remember I didn't want to tell them that I was going home to open up we call it the National Electric Code Book, we call it the NEC book. I didn't want to tell them because I thought they were going to bust my chops, Until one day they found out, and sure as hell, Cesar, you think you're smarter than us? Oh, look at you! What, are you trying to go get a degree? And I'm like, no, bro, I'm just ain't trying to do this for the rest of my life, which seems like you guys are okay with. So I've already partied hard enough, right? Now it's my time to short circuit this and see how I can elevate every year, man. Either a night school, accounting, code, theory. Every year, I just kept stacking up a new night course. By 24, I was a journeyman electrician. By like 26 or something, I passed my contractor's license. Kevin, by 26, I had become a licensed electrical contractor, and I was already contracting little small jobs, still $2,000 jobs here and there. But I was embarrassed to tell people how young I was at 26 years old, because I was scared or embarrassed. They would say, "What the hell does a 26-year-old kid know?"
Yeah.
Right? And so for many years, I was trying to look older and act older than I was, only to realize that, dude, I had through hard work and dedication and a lot of grace to God, I had earned that position. And so my message is this, and I tell my team all the time. I tell them, you got to work harder on yourself than you're working at this company. What does that mean? If you think you're going to go to trade school, you're going to go to your job and work 9 to 5, and that's all it's going to take, by all means, good luck with that. It's going to take you 8-10 years to elevate. But if you want to short circuit that path to success and career growth, you go put on your 9 to 5, learn as much as you can in the field. But guess what? You got to go home and you got to continue to work on yourself, whether that's books, night school, podcasts, seeking mentorship or guidance. It's a non-ending a cycle, brother. And so that's what I would share with you. That was my path, and that's what I preach now.
Kyle and I were talking about setting up some sort of formal mentorship program. Would you be in on that, or are you pretty tapped where you're at?
I pray and I discern everything. I used to say I'm in to everything, but now I know that when you say no to something, it means you're allowed to say yes to something else. I have a mentorship group now that I pitched you in reverse. It's called Kingdom Contractors Academy.
Oh, there you go.
It's on Instagram. By the way, my Instagram handle is also Vaquero Solar. But mostly my real outreach is on LinkedIn under Cesar Barbosa. But I have this mentorship group, which is called Kingdom Contractors Academy. And it's basically exactly that. We mentor, we guide apprentices all the way through CEOs.
Yeah. If you're needing mentors, sign me up. I'm in. We don't need to make anything new if it exists. That's kind of the idea, is doing this more organically, like contractors supporting contractors. So that's awesome. I'm in. If I'm in, I have prayed about it. Yeah, I don't want to. So you knew when you got in, there had to be something more. Like you had that titch from the beginning. It's like, I'm going to start going to school. And then it just materialized? Or did you know? I'm kind of like, how did you get to the company? I'm assuming there was a few swings that weren't in alignment with what you're doing now. Maybe.
Yeah. So I was deep in my trade, deep in my work, climbing the ranks, just like any other tradesman. What was that pinnacle catalyst to going into business? The first one that comes to mind is the real. I remember the day it happened, right? The event. So there was this. By then, I was already traveling the country as a specialist. So I was assessing these large commercial industrial systems around the country, working for a very prominent solar company. And there was this one other guy who had been doing it way longer than I had. And this guy was like a legend, like everybody knew his name. You would see him in the email threads. Like this guy was just a guru. Like he had all the certs, he had all the proprietary knowledge. Like this guy was just a legend to all of us junior techs. And finally, I get to meet him one day. I think we're working like at a Lowe's or something. So he showed. So I'm there. I'm waiting for him, and I'm so excited, man. Like I've been for like weeks. I've been looking forward to meeting this guy because he's traveling around the country, and so finally it's going to happen. And I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking like this dude was going to show up, I don't know, in a Ferrari or on a space shuttle or something, and he was going to come out. I didn't know what I was imagining, man. Like the next Messiah. I don't know, dude. A 60-year-old man, all beat up, all ruggedy, like he hadn't slept in months, in a little beat up pickup truck with a little red ladder on top. I almost thought it wasn't him. I almost was thinking that someone else had maybe got lost. And sure enough, it's him, man. So he comes up, I greet him, and I'm like, okay, well, respect, I mean, hardworking dude, still in the field. Okay, got it. So we start working, we get into this big central inverter. And so I'm like neck to neck with him in this gear with our hands in, like, doing the work. And I'm just looking at it, and I'm looking at him. I'm looking at his knuckles, man, his hands. They're all beat up. They're all, they got the callus of a hardworking man. Respect to them. But that's when it hit me, man. It hit me like 60 years old, 25 or whatever age, 24 or whatever age I was at. That's what my career is going to look like if I continue to stay as an employee. That was it, man. I remember, and then the other thing, the man kept complaining about his retirement, and that his retirement was right around the corner, and he wasn't really sure what he was going to do, and 401k and social, and just complaining. I'm looking at it like, this is the guy that I envisioned I was going to be in 10 years. And I said, no, it can't be that. I think in that day, something clicked in me and said, if I don't go do this for myself, that's the next layer of where my career could take me.
How do you balance I'm going to call the discontentedness with being, we call them ICs, like an individual contributor? Like, how do you balance, like if somebody's listening to you, let's say somebody's listening, like we're talking to apprentice that's kind of like, I don't want to lead people, I don't want to run a business, but I want to enjoy my work. What would your guidance? Like, I think there's maybe an inherent risk for painting a picture of like, a long, I guess, what would you tell that person so that they want to become that guy? Or how do they be? They don't want to become that guy, but they can't do what Cesar's doing, and is that okay? Or like, how do you, somebody that wants to retire as a journeyman, right? Or maybe a foreman, or maybe a super, is that like?
Yeah, which is 99% of the trades, right? I mean, that's what I was saying when I'm talking to these trades at these trade schools. It was like most of you are going to go out if you stay committed to any trade, especially in today's age. It's not hard to maintain a job, right? Especially in places like California. That's a story for another day. But yeah, I mean, so we need them all. We need apprentices, we need journeymans, and we need master tradesmen. I mean, the reality is that I am not the best electrician at my company. I hire the best electricians, right? So there's two very different paths. You might have a real solid project manager that's a terrible electrician, and you have a 30-year-old electrician that's a terrible manager. And so again, going back to biblical doctrine, everybody is needed for Christ's church, right? We're all important members of the body, and so what I would say to them is like, good for you, man. Stay committed, stay disciplined, don't become dead weight, continue to sharpen your mind, don't get complacent, and it was nice knowing you. And I say that respectfully, because the reality is that people like us, man, are like, we're attacked constantly by people who do want to seek something better, whether that's through manager position or perhaps being an operator of their own. And so, respectfully speaking, out of the 30 guys that we have, I don't know all of their names, right? I mean, the apprentices are coming in. I try to introduce them myself as much as I can. I had one guy here cleaning up our shop today. I go out there, talk to him. I found out he's got 2 kids, 6 and 4. He's been with the high school sweetheart. The guy just started with us, 2 months ago. So those things are important. They need to know that the CEO is willing to get dirty and talk to these folks. But the reality is that I'm not going to do that with everybody, right? So again, not to be the dead horse, but I would say good for you. Is that the path you want to take? We definitely need those. There's a lot of work for you, but I got to stay focused to the people that really need my attention.
So the NuLife, when was new? So you're going to school. You saw that pivotal moment where that was not what you want to become. There's got to be something more. And then when does NuLife? How does NuLife kind of take shape?
Oh man, it wasn't as clean as that. It's never really as clean as that. Right? I think this is like my 4th business. So first it was we were like pressure washing. I was still an electrician, but I knew I wanted to do something. So I think we started pressure washing, cleaning solar panels. And then I said, no, hell no, that's not it for me. I started my first electrical company, Barbosa Electric, and then One Stop Energy Electric. I wanted to be everything electrical under the sun. There was a lesson in that, right? Like the riches are in the niches. So then I focus in. I partner up with this gal. She had a project management firm. I was the electrical contractor. We partner up, split. She had 51. I had 49% equity. We give it hell for a solid 4 years. We make a shit ton of money, and then the relationship blows up. 65-year-old woman, 30-year-old man. That rubber band eventually is going to snap, right? So it snaps. Big catastrophe. Team members, employees. We litigation. We go through that whole mess. Come out of that. Create NuLife Power in March, April. So I wake up April 14th through a text message, and she said, "Cesar, I think we've had enough. I think it's time to go our own way." So that's Valentine's Day, February 14th of 2020. I see that text message. She basically blocks me from all of our accounts. And in that moment, I remember that day, that moment, I look at my phone and I see this long text message. In that very second, NuLife had already started on my mind. Quite frankly, I was ready for it. So I go right to work. Obviously, it takes some time to create the new LLCs, and then the world shuts down. Right around April, right? COVID shuts down the work. Even for solar, we were considered essential service, but there was mayhem. So we closed for a month. So we actually get full throttle May, maybe end of May, and within those 6-7 months, we clear $1.2 million in revenue. And I said, okay, this has got God's favor. Let's hit it hard, and we've doubled every year since. But it wasn't a sweet, got a vision, let's do it. It was your typical entrepreneur story.
That's awesome, man. And what are you guys doing for revenue now? I can't do the math. What?
We're on track to do 5 million this year.
That's fantastic, man. Super cool. And then, because I'm curious, was the partnership strictly business, or there was a romantic element to it too?
Kevin, come on, yeah, no, strictly
okay.
business.
I didn't know the way it came in on Valentine's Day. I was like, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about your family.
Well, so we talked about mom, dad. I got 2 siblings, both in the trades as well. My little brother worked with me for about 7-8 years. He was critical in building both at my last partnership and this one. I think I fired him like, it must have been like 24 times a year. I would fire him or he would quit. And then he would call mom, and then mom would call me, "Mijo, I heard you fire your little brother again." It's like, "Mom, we've already been down this road. Business is business. I'll see him at the family picnic." He's like, "No, Mijo, I'm not telling you how to run your business. I would never." But just don't come to dinner or tomorrow. And sure as hell, right? Have to hire my little brother. So God bless him, dude. He was pinnacle. Married a beautiful wife of 4 years. We've been together for 8. God-fearing woman, beautiful woman. She's actually our VP of internal operations. She was a nurse making over 200K and living in the Bay Area. COVID went crazy. We decided, you know what, vaccination, not for us. There wasn't enough research out there. They were forcing it down her throat. The business needed her help in a way. So I said, you know what, let's take a break. We were getting ready to start a family. Long story short, she joins the business as like administrative accounting support, but in a matter of like weeks or months, she was running shop, man. So now she's our treasurer, she's our HR VP of internal ops, but the most important role is probably my confidant, my strategy board. It doesn't hurt to be your lover as well, right? And we have 2 beautiful little girls, a 2-year-old and a 7-month-old. They're the apple of my eye. It's funny, they say, man, when a man, I don't have a son yet, maybe we'll try on that, God willing. But they say when a man has his first son, he for the first time ever, he's willing to die for someone. And when a man has his first daughter, he turns into a murderer. That's him. And so that's the family. And I got a Doberman here who protects the castle when Daddy's not home.
That's rad. What's your wife's name?
Yadineth Barbosa.
Awesome. All right. Well, then I'd love to learn more about all of that, but we're on a tight timeline. So you've brought it up like 3 or 4 times. When does Jesus enter your life? Always? Or when does he become part of your daily routine?
Yeah, man. I've been blessed to be indoctrinated through the Catholic faith through my mama. My mama has been a prayer warrior her whole life. So you grow up going to church every Sunday. We're altar boys, lectors, all of that. Society hits, environment hits. I walk away from the church. I never walked away from my faith because I always knew that God was present and in my soul, in my heart. But I was too caught up with the secular world, and so for like that teenage years up to about like maybe 20, 21 years old. I'm away from the church. I'm still going to Sunday church, like trying to like camouflage so the homies wouldn't find out, so they wouldn't bust my chops. But I always longed for communion with Christ. Fast forward, just multiple times in my life, man. I've had God honest truth miracles, bro. I always say that it's really hard to believe in the grace and the reality of God unless you've gone through an experience which has proven that He actually exists, right? Otherwise, it's hard to really understand. But I've had multiple instances, miracles, you could say, where God has been present in my life, and it's undeniable. Not to say that it's made me any better of a Christian, but just reminds me, like, no, there's definitely someone watching after me, and He's a loving God, but also a consequential God. And He's just like a judge, and there's consequences to our life. And like a father, He makes us learn from those lessons. And then just throughout the years, I just continue to stay close to brothers in Christ, and we pray our rosaries. I was praying a rosary last night. I'll pray one for you today here, probably, Kevin, after our podcast. It's a very important part of our life. We're part of a large men's group here. Brotherhood, man sharpen man, as iron sharpen iron, is probably what I would say. It is one of the reasons we started KCA, Kingdom Contractors Academy. Isolation between men is probably the number one factor that's killing men today. Like, we need to be around other strong men so that you could talk about. So we actually meet here in my little cave, and I got the whiskey bottles, and I was trying to make this into a cigar lounge, but we've had our men's Bible group here. We come here, grown men, veteran military men of all walks of life. They come in here. We cry here. We pray here. We celebrate here. I love God, man. I love Jesus Christ, my Savior, brother. I don't know what else to say.
That's super awesome, man. I appreciate that you wear it on your chest. I think the world's kind of coming into some type of renewal, like a spiritual revival seems to be on the precipice. I was a Bible banger since college, and I was hiding from the world. Now it seems to be like it's going to trend the other way, I think. So dope. So we talked Jesus, we talked faith, we talked your business. Do you want to do a formal pitch on KCA beyond what you have? Is there anything else that you want to? I think we're at a good stopping point here. Unless you want to just real quick talk about LA. I just don't know if that's a real quick.
You've been talking about that for a while, bro. Let's dig in.
So so here's my thing. So I'm going to do a little talking here. So I do believe that God put me on this world to bring unlikely people together. And so anytime you see divisiveness, I see evil. I'm like, yo, that's no good. Like, and it's stupid. Normally it's stupid. Like in most circumstances, right? When you boil down what we're arguing about, it's like, it's fictional. Like, we've made it up. It's like, if you really want to, let's pick abortion, and I'm going to piss some people off here, but like, there's a very simple tenet to this. Is like, we should all want to prevent the occurrence, like, in the best way possible. Like, we don't want more of that. It's a net negative, right? And whether that's education or whatever, we should want less of it, right? We should do the best we can to protect a woman's rights, right? And then we should also do the best that we can to protect whatever you want to call the baby, fetus, or whatever, right? It's like, let's just take those three things and say that, can't we mostly agree on that and like move towards a solution rather than like this pro-life. Anyway, all of those issues to me are very solvable if we would just move away from our ideological camps. This one for me is extremely nuanced. I find it to be. It's like, I don't know. So anyway, I'm just curious your take. And like, as a proud patriot, Mexican American, you get to talk to our audience. Isn't very big right now. I promise you that will change. Give me a year or two. Like, I promise you, I'll make sure that changes. But like,
no doubt.
What do you say to the country? Like, what do we need to understand that we don't understand, or how do you see this? How do you see this, and how do you wish it was?
The first word that comes to mind is engineered divisivism. So, like you mentioned, right? So the divide that's happening, I think that's the thing that comes first and foremost to mind. And it's the thing that probably breaks my heart the most, because, man, I mean, we see it, right? I mean, I was on an airplane the other day. I forget where I was flying, but I sat next to this liberal right out of Los Angeles. Brother, it was one of the most intriguing, eye-opening, most wisdom conversation I've had in a very, very long time. It's funny when you say, when you're in close proximity, right? Like you're at arm's length of a punch, that you really are willing to open up and speak. And what I realized from that conversation, and mind you, this man had been serving as a deacon and as a helper to the who was it? I think it was the bishop of Orange County. Was it Orange County? I forget, somewhere in LA. But he was really involved with the Catholic Church, right? Which is one of the reasons that we conversate. But very liberal, very very. The way he explained it was very gracious and loving to all walks of life. And I was trying to, because and my approach was, look, amen, we need that. We need the appreciativeness. We need the openness. We need the grace to understand that people who perhaps don't agree with our conservative ideas, that in their way, they have reasons or maybe experiences that we don't have, right? But at the same time, I also believe that we need all different walks of life and experiences to be able to do God's work. And so perhaps mine and your job is to be more on the strength and the conviction of what's happening in the world is not okay. So that was eye opening to me, right? Because here's a 60, mind you, maybe what I should have added was, this is a 60, 70-year-old man. He probably had the same frustration, the same strength, the same fire that I had at my age, seeing where the country is going at his age. And as you grow older, you can no longer fight with your strength and your brute force and your energy. And so you convert. And actually, we know that from Jesus, right? We know from Jesus that although he wasn't a weak and not, I mean, he said, "I came here to, I don't come here to make necessarily just friends. I come here to sword to separate parents from children and et cetera, et cetera." I mean, he came to flip the world upside down. What do I mean by that? He didn't come here to be weak, not express his doctrine in a way that basically got him crucified, right? In a way. So a lot of division. And so as it relates to what's happening with immigration and all that, my idea from what I can see is, and I kind of, it's nuanced because I live here in California, but I'm also Mexican American. But I talk to my mother-in-law and my parents, and I even talk to a lot of my family in Mexico. And there's a general consensus. We opened up the border to bring millions and millions of undocumented immigrants, and now we're faced with the consequences to have to do something about it. So are we frustrated with the administration that has fiduciary and governmental responsibility to remove those undocumented immigrants, or should we be frustrated with an administration that lackadaisically allowed this to happen in the first place, right? That's where the conversation ends. The reality also, as you look at some of these neighborhoods here in California, dude, we're already struggling, man. We're already struggling to have the resources to accommodate a lower middle class income society, let alone when you become a safe haven for these folks. The people who live here, they hurt the most, right? Because now we're competing with folks who otherwise would have been charging a higher rate. Now they're charging a lower rate, so now those folks are having to compete with them. Benefits and Medi-Cal and all of those government programs. Guess who pays for that in one way or another? So I have heard it from myself, from immigrants, both documented and undocumented immigrants who are here, mind you, that say, no, that wasn't okay. Something needs to happen. And they're lost, brother. They're lost because the reality is a lot of us either we follow one media source or the other. And when you're bombarded with that much media, it's kind of hard to look at, someone else's perspective. And so my motto has been, and I'm not perfect at this, man, but my motto is like, dude, stay away from the news. Stay away from divisional media, whether it's right or left. Go out, speak to people, pray. And the last thing I'll say with this, and Bishop Barron, really influential person on social media, said this perfectly as it relates to what's happening here with immigration. God said, bridges and walls. You need both. You can't just have bridges without the protection of protecting your sovereignty and who you are as a society. You need bridges and walls.
I was drawing a bridge while we were talking. It's like, we just need a bridge. I don't know why I felt led to draw a bridge. Well, dude, I'm going to give you back to your day. I appreciate you coming on. Well, let's make sure we pump up anything you want pumped up. Obviously, NuLife for solar recommissioning, decommissioning, optimization.
Yeah.
NuLife solar. And then, so tell me, let's just walk the dog. I said yes, and I didn't really ask. So KCA, Kingdom Contractors, is a mentorship program that you have founded.
Yes.
And so if I want to be mentored, I go to Instagram. Where do we find you? And I would like to I'm ready to sign up if you need any more.
You're going to come in as a mentor to folks, to mentorees. Yeah. And for those that are listening that are in the trades and they're looking for that leadership and the guidance, go to Instagram. We don't have a massive following, but it's okay. We give back to everybody. Go to Kingdom Contractors Academy and drop us a direct message. Either if you want to be a mentor, type us, I want to be a mentor. Or if you're looking for mentorship, just say looking for mentorship and we'll connect the trades, right? The beauty about the program and the emphasis of it is that we're trying to collect like-minded trades with folks that are in that particular vertical, right? So a fencing apprentice should be talking to primarily a fencing contractor or business owner or mentor, an electrician, a landscaper, HVAC. We're trying to bring all trades. We also are working with some accountants that for those that are in the operating phase of their career, we have Christian faithful accountants. We also have media folks who are happy to help you with the websites. You'll come in and we can set you up with them and work with them.
And I'm looking for a mentorship, but I'm not sure what I believe about Jesus. Can I come and see, or
100% come and see? Just don't be surprised. We are a praying academy.
There you go. I love it, man. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
Builder fam, thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Cesar, for coming. Well, if you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe. That's what they say. That's what we're asking for. If you didn't like it, there should be a survey and a link. Tell us what you didn't like, and we will seek to improve it every day. Appreciate the gals and boys and gals at Pineapple Productions for putting it together, and we'll keep on building it together. Thanks for being here.